Jay here for Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, you know what to do. We're live. We're in the studio, so get involved in the chat and the comments. Come on, you know what to do by now. We're going to be talking about the latest Manchester United transfer rumours, of course, because where would we be without some transfer rumours? And it feels like now we're fully into January transfer rumour season. As we get closer to Christmas, you just know there's going to be more and more January transfer rumours, and it's going to get even worse once the World Cup kicks off, because you're going to see a player have a half-decent 45 minutes against some sort of small, nation, and then all of a sudden they'll be linked with Manchester United for an £80 million fee, and we'll probably end up paying it. So we've got a few transfer rumours to get into. We'll also get a little bit of a reaction to the draw against Barcelona. Xavi's been giving his take on the fact that he's going to be playing against the biggest club in world football. And we'll have a little bit of a Raphael Varane update. But make sure you are getting involved in the chat and the comments. Jokoya Trot says, morning, Jay. Glazes out. Yep, always glazes out. Danny Inns says, morning, Jay. Digemba Pradhan says, yo, Jay, what's up? I've not heard that one for a while. Rob Holiday Drums says, morning, Jay. Yes. Morning. King Dino says, morning, Jay. Hit that like button. Yeah, please do hit the like button as well. Yash Gami says, Ronaldo is the ex you can't get rid of because you had a kid with them. Oh, harsh. I think this video, this live, might be a bit of a Ronaldo free zone. I think we've spoken about Cristiano Ronaldo a lot lately, and there aren't any developments there, any updates. So obviously you guys can put whatever you want in the chat. But yeah, we'll focus on other things for the time being, because believe it or not, there are other stories going on with Manchester United that don't revolve around Cristiano Ronaldo. Right, PSV director shuts down Gakpo suggestion. This is a story that's doing the rounds. I think I've seen this. Well, this is a quote. PSV director Marcel Brands said about United going in for Cody Gakpo. I had this in my news yesterday that United were going in for Gakpo, and he says this is not Cody Gakpo's last match against Ajax. Next year, he will also play the match in Eindhoven against Ajax. If it will be his last away match with PSV against Ajax, yes, that is a possibility. So that's a bit vague, isn't it? That's neither here nor there. Because at one point he's going, right, okay, that's not happening. Then the other time he's saying, yeah, well, maybe it is. So, yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything happening in January. I think that's the one thing we can gather from what he said there, Marcel Brands. But it looks like there could be something happening in the summer. Now, Cody Gakpo has been absolutely smashing it in Arriva Divise. I think, is it something like 12 goals and 9 assists in 13 games or something like that, I think, if my memory serves me right from yesterday's news. So we know what he can do. We know that United were interested in him in the summer. It felt like it was either going to be him or Anthony. We got Anthony for 100 million euros, obviously, so it wasn't like we're going to go out and get them both. So we got Anthony. Gakpo's obviously still at PSV. However, there's still an interest there. There's been quite a lot of reports. Now, Gakpo can play on the left. He is right-footed. I think he likes cutting from left-hand side, but he can also play down the middle. And that's why some people might be looking at it going, this could work, this. You get Gakpo in this Manchester United team. Yes, sorry, I've just got the stats there. 9 goals, 12 assists in 30 matches. I got it the wrong way around. Forgive me. You get him in this team and you think he could play down the middle, he could play on the left, maybe him and Marcus Rashford could swap around, maybe him and Anthony Martial. Gives you more options. I think the right-hand side is Anthony's. When he's fit, he'll play there. But yeah, you've got players who can play in different positions, and it looks like that could work. But he's not going to be cheap. You're going to have to pay money for him. And according to what Marcel Brand is suggesting there, you're probably not going to get him in January. You're going to have to wait till the summer. Get involved in the comments. Let us know what you think. Yash Gami says, Gakpo, Tony. Manchester Maverick says, if Gakpo does it at the World Cup, then his fee doubles minimum. Unfortunately, that's a great point, because it will. You know for a fact, anyone who has a decent World Cup that was linked with United, they are going to see their value just skyrocket. And I'm always worried about that, because I always think it's quite misleading, a World Cup, because you can have a good World Cup and yet not play against Premier League opposition that often. It's a bit of a weird one. You get to the sort of latter rounds and you're playing against teams like, you're playing against a France, or if you're playing against a Brazil or whatever, then yeah, you're going to be coming against top tier opponents. But you can have group games against teams that are made up of Championship or even League One level players. We've seen that before. We've seen many teams in the World Cup who've literally, had players who are out of contracts, haven't got a club and they're playing in a World Cup. I'm not saying all teams like that, obviously, but you do get one or two nations who might not have the strongest team. You can play well against them, get a couple of decent games under your belt, and you've had a decent World Cup, you've had a good World Cup, you haven't played top-level opposition, and then your value's gone up anyway, because on paper it's like, oh, he's had a great tournament, now he's worth 80 million rather than 40 million or whatever, and it can be a bit misleading. Harry Maguire's valued. I'm not having a dig at Maguire, because I think, he's an easy target, and everyone just seems to be piling on him in it. But his World Cup obviously helped his value, increased his value. Now, England did very well in that World Cup. They got to the semi-finals, and he was a mainstay of that team. And, he played very well. He got a goal, I think, as well. So you can understand it. But his value should have been based on what he did for Leicester rather than what he did for England, in my opinion. And then you look at it on paper, you say, oh, well, Romelu Lukaku is a good example. People said, oh, he had a good World Cup in 2018. He scored 4 goals in a World Cup, which is not too shabby. He scored 2 goals against Tunisia, 2 goals against Panama, and missed a load of sitters in the latter rounds. Not a load, that's a bit harsh. Missed some important chances. So, again, it can be misleading. So I wouldn't base transfers off a World Cup. If we are interested in any of these players, including Gakpo, then, go for them based on what they do for the club. But if you're waiting on the World Cup and if you're basing it off the World Cup, you're going to be in trouble. Santa Notch says more of a chance of World Cup tax for bang average players. Yeah, I think it could happen, that. Jacoya Trot says Gakpo could become our new Chicharito if we're lucky. I used to love Chicharito. Should we move on to the next story? I think we've got an update on Skriniar. United have been linked with a move for Milan Skriniar, but Inter CEO Giuseppe Maratta is keen to sign him to a new contract. Maratta's being quoted here. He says, "We'll meet with his agent this week. We're planning to get a new deal done as soon as possible. Skriniar loves this club, and I hope we'll be able to reach full agreement on a new contract soon." Let us know. What do you think of that one? Is that a transfer that excites you? Because I don't know. Defenders don't seem to be the main sort of priority for me. Centre backs anyway. I think we've got, obviously you've got Varane, you've got Martinez. I know there's injury issues with Martinez. With Varane. You've also got Lindelof. You've got Maguire, who mentioned. Is that a priority? I don't know. Maybe you could bring in someone if he's going to go straight into the team, especially with Varane's injury problems, possibly. But I wouldn't have thought that would have been top of the list, especially when we need a striker, obviously. And in terms of defenders, if you do want to bring in a defender, right back's probably the main one where you need a bit more competition. Not competition, but you need more, more bodies, don't you? You need another player in there to either challenge or to back up Diogo Dalot, because I don't know what's happened with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. He seems to become the forgotten man. I don't know if Erik ten Hag just doesn't fancy him or whatever, but it doesn't look like he's going to be getting many games, although he could play at the weekend, because Diogo Dalot was suspended against Fulham, innit? Let us know what you think about Skriniar. Yash Gami says he's 27. V Cobra says not going to happen. Darren Cox says only need a centre-back when Maguire is sold. That kind of makes sense, that to me. That if Maguire goes, you bring in someone else. Until then, I still feel like bringing in a centre-back is probably not going to happen. I just feel like in terms of priorities, it just won't be there. Ben Sorville says defo need a right-back. Don't want Lindelof having to play that. That's a good point, that. Because I was thinking maybe Aaron Wan-Bissaka comes back into the side against Fulham, but it wouldn't be surprising if Victor Lindelof played there. He has played right back in the past, and he played there, I think, has he played? I don't know, he's played there for Sweden and Benfica, did he, before he came to United. But he has played there for United. I think it was in Madrid against Atletico, I think he played right back. He's played at right back a few times. So, yeah, that is probably more likely than Aaron Wan-Bissaka coming in from the cold. Let us know what you think of that one. Hit that like button. Over 500 people watching. Not even 100 likes. Come on. It's got, you can do better. Oh, yeah, here's another point as well. Rob Holiday Drum says, didn't Malacia get put over to the right for one game? He did. Can't remember which game it was, but you're right, he did get moved over. So maybe that's an option as well. So, yeah, it'd be quite telling, wouldn't it, if Wan-Bissaka's available, Dalot's out, and Wan-Bissaka still doesn't get a game. That'll just tell you everything you need to know. I mean, if he's not available, it's different. But if he is, and he's still not been able to get in a team when the only other out-and-out right-back is suspended, then that should be a massive indication that his time at Manchester United is coming to an end. It's a bit of a shame, really, because at one point I really thought Aaron Wan-Bissaka was going to have a very bright future at Manchester United. His first sort of dozen or so games for Manchester United when he came from Crystal Palace, I thought he was fantastic. And I also thought he played well for Palace against us. Remember that game when Nemanja Matic scored that worldie from 20 yards out? Aaron Wan-Bissaka was like probably man of the match in that game. It's not worked out for whatever reason. And I think, yeah, it looks like it's going to come to an end very soon. Xavi has been talking about the Champions League draw. Obviously, Manchester United drawn against Barcelona in the Champions League. I keep saying that. Champions League draw. I've just said it again. Then in my head, right, it's a Champions League. It's a Champions League game. I don't business with this Europa nonsense, right? I've said this on the live. Me and Joe did a Twitter Spaces. I'm just gonna have my headphones on when the teams come out playing the Champions League music. Yeah, so just pretend it's a Champions League game, even though it isn't. Xavi's been reacting to the draw. There's a story here. It says Barcelona coach Xavi says United have grown a lot under manager Erik ten Hag and agrees they have drawn the toughest team. He says at a press conference, this is a press conference, so these are quotes, not just someone's opinion. We will have to compete, Xavi said at a press conference, going to Manchester against a really tough rival and a historic side that has grown a lot with Ten Hag, with great individual players. Yes, it is the toughest rival once again in the Europa League. It's a massive challenge for us. Our players will probably be more motivated against a strong team, and we will have to compete. Yeah, big game against Barcelona. We owe them one as well, don't we? We've not got a good record of late against Barcelona. We beat him in, obviously, the biggest competition you can think of, the 1991 Cup Winners' Cup final. We also beat him in 2008 in the semis. Remember? We drew away and we drew 1-1-0 at home with that Paul Scholes screamer. Well, since then, it's not been great, has it? We lost 2 finals. And obviously the quarterfinals, we didn't get going against them a couple of years ago under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So it'd be nice if we could actually turn up against Barcelona because, yeah, we haven't turned up for the best part of almost, 6 years or whatever? No, 6 years, I wish. 15 years or something. Loads of people in the comments saying, I'll get some of the chat. Jim Wilson says, Aaron Wan-Bissaka's better than Delo. I don't know about that one, you know. There was a time when I wouldn't have agreed, not anymore. Shankan says, Barca are there for the taking, to be honest. It's weird, aren't they top of La Liga, Barca? Like, they've had this horrendous run in the Champions League where obviously they finished third and they were getting their arse handed to them. Excuse my language, early in the morning. And then in La Liga, I think they've just gone top of La Liga. I think Real Madrid have got a game in hand, but which they could go top again, I think. But Barcelona, who are having one of these seasons where you go, everything's going wrong at the new camp. They've pulled all these levers. Some of the signings aren't working out. It all seems shambolic. They've been knocked out of the Champions League, in the doldrums of the Europa League with the rest of us. And yet they could still win the league. It's mad, isn't it? How it always seems like Barcelona always seems to sort of fall on their feet, even when they're not, having the best season. Yeah, just looking at the table there, La Liga table. Oh, no, Real Madrid haven't got a game now. Stand corrected. They've both played 13 games. Barcelona on 34 points. Real Madrid on 32. Real Madrid obviously drawn against Liverpool in the Champions League, so I'll be sat there with my Madrid top on for that one. Let us know what you think about the Barcelona draw. Joe Blogg says, remember 1984? I remember the roar of the crowd. I used to live in Stretford. One of my earliest memories is hearing that crowd. Brian Robson, I put in an absolute amazing performance, putting Maradona in his pocket. Darren Cox says, can't wait to see Miners against Lewandowski. I agree. Problem is, he's suspended in it for the first game, which is annoying. Charlie Hughes says, Glazers out, 58 in. Yeah, big shout out to 958 and obviously the Glazers out movement, which never ends, and rightly so. See, Liverpool are up for sale. I wish the Glazers had followed suit, to be honest with you. NWA 087 says, like James Rodriguez had a good World Cup and then ended up in Madrid and then he ended up in Everton. Yep, he did. Goes to show that was what we were talking about earlier about how a good World Cup can just sort of leave you, be a bit misleading, sorry. What about Brandon Williams? Yeah, what about him? I don't know what's happened with Brandon Williams. He's another one who, right now you think, okay, he's that age and you think, he should be bothering the first team because he had a decent loan spell at Norwich. And then obviously he'd played a lot when he was a kid, about 18, 19 at Manchester United at one point. He was keeping Luke Shaw out of the team. Brandon Williams as well, don't forget, he's right-footed, so he can play on the right-hand side. And then it's all gone a bit quiet. I don't know let me just have a quick look here. Yeah, it's just, I don't know what's going on. I mean, a bit of a weird one. Hopefully, he's still got a bright future, but it just seems to have I don't know, sort of petered out a little bit. Dale Gibson says, could get all the Barca info off Andy Mittenjay. He knows more than most with him living over there. That is a great point. And Andy, obviously, I've known Andy since I was a kid. I used to sell United We Stand, and he's been on the channel a few times. He's a pal. So, yeah, I'll try and have a chat with Andy because, like you say, that's spot on that, Dale. He does live out there. He knows Barcelona inside out. So, yeah, he'd be a good person to speak to and give us a little bit of a heads up on what we can expect. Funny enough, I was chatting to him on message this morning, so maybe we can try and get him on and get his take on what is going on at Barcelona. Should we have a little look at this Jonathan David rumour? So, this one's been doing the rounds this morning. I think I saw it in the Manchester Evening News, I think, the Jonathan David one. I think as well, it's come from... I saw it in the Manchester Evening News, but it's been doing the rounds in various other publications as well. Now, Jonathan David is having a very good season. He's only 22. He's 9 goals in 14 appearances for Lille this season. So he's obviously in a decent bit of form. And you think, at 22 years old, he's going to kick on. Now, he's been decent during his career. Last season, he got 19 goals in all competitions in 48 appearances, right? So... do you know what I mean? That was, a decent return. This season, he's got 9 goals in 14 appearances. It's all in the league, by the way, this season. So, again, a good return. And you'd hope he would kick on. He's a Canadian international. He's got 22 goals for Canada in just 34 appearances there. So he absolutely loves smashing in the goals for Canada. Make sure you're smashing alike as well. Let us know what you think. I've not seen a lot of him. I'm not going to pretend, because I haven't. Is he any good? Do you rate him? Do you think he could be the answer to our problems? We need someone, don't we? And it looks like, I said I wasn't going to mention him, but I've got to. Ronaldo could be heading out. So do you think that Jonathan David could be the answer to our problems? Renato Tello says Canadian Lacazette. That's not exactly a ringing endorsement, is it? Liam Clark says, choosing between Jonathan David and Choupo-Moting is like choosing between Rabiot and Casemiro. Our transfer links still follow no logic. Yash Gami says he's good but needs support. Can't be a load striker, I think. Jamie Wayne says any player we go for now, we will get outbid. That's a bit disappointing. Let us know. Santa Notch says, is Williams still injured? I don't know. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I need to get an update on that. Going back to the Brandon Williams story. Yeah, Jonathan David. I remember Angelina Kelly's been on the channel a few times. She was on Sky Sports a few months ago, and she flagged up Jonathan David as a potential target and someone that she thought United could and maybe should go for. So he's been spoken about a few times. I think we did a Twitter space and we were chatting about potential targets, and his name came up a few times a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah, I think we're going to be linked with a lot of strikers. The thing with Jonathan David, you look at someone, you think he's 22, he's at Lille, so he's gettable, isn't he? It's not like he's, you're not going to be able to get a player from there. It's just a question of can he come to Manchester United and be the answer? At least at an age as well, because unlike some of our other targets, and I'll get to Choupo-Moting in a minute, and the other strikers we've had, including Ronaldo and Cavani and Igalo and Zlatan, we've got players who are more or less at the end or coming towards the end of the career. Kev Cook says, morning, Jay. Magnum Skywolf says, morning, Jay. Morning, guys, as well. Buzz says, needs to start giving Charlie McNeil minutes. Listen, I agree with that, right? Giving him some minutes. I'm all for that. I don't think you can throw him straight in, like, as our striker at the minute. I think you've got to bring him in gradually. Now, I love Charlie McNeil. I think he's going to be a great talent for Manchester United. But I think you have to handle him, in the right way. Because it's always with a strike, and Charlie, if you look at him, you can see he's growing, he's developing. You want to make sure that you don't sort of rush him in too soon, but on the other hand, give him some minutes. So I'd like to see him getting the odd cameo and, maybe given an opportunity. Maybe on Thursday night, it's a League Cup game, if he could, come on there. Because I think he came on against, was it Sociedad he came on in the Europa League? Didn't get much of a look in there. So, yeah, I just think you've got to handle Charlie McNeil right. And if you do handle him right, then you could have a very, very good player for Manchester United. He's been absolutely smashing in goals at all levels. His goal-scoring record is ridiculous. Should we move on to Choupo-Moting? Says United here are seriously interested in him. This comes from Florian Plettenberg. Again, he's someone who we know. He's been on the channel. He's a good guy. He says that we're interested in him we've inquired about him to replace Ronaldo. But there's talk that he will actually stay. Now, his stats, looking at his stats here, 10 goals in 14 games this season. He's also got 3 assists as well. So he's got 3 goals in the Champions League and he's got 5 goals. Is it? No, am I reading this wrong here or what? No, 5 goals in the Bundesliga, 3 goals in the Champions League, and 2 goals in the German Cup. So he's having a good season, right? But is he having a good career? Do you know what I mean? That might sound a bit harsh. Me and Joe were chatting about this yesterday on the Paddock podcast. I mean, he is in a bit of a, I think Andy Tate called it a purple patch. He's at Bayern Munich, he's banging in loads of goals, but that isn't what he's been doing throughout his career. You know, last season he scored 4 goals in the Bundesliga. The season before that he got 3. You know, the season before that in Paris Saint-Germain, I mean, he was injured a lot of the time. He got 3 goals in 9 games. Season before that he got 3 goals in 22 games. Jesus wept. He was at Stoke, where he got 5 goals in the Premier League. So he's not exactly prolific, is he? Those are like, and this is a compliment, Danny Welbeck numbers. But, you know, is he the answer to our problems? Is he going to continue this purple patch if he comes to the Premier League? If he was scoring 5 goals in 30 games 5 years ago, all right, he was at Stoke, but still, is he going to come and smash it up now for Manchester United at the age of 33? I don't like this one. I'm not going to lie to you. Listen, I'll get behind any player that comes to Manchester United. I always have. Even when I've looked at it and gone, why have we got him? What's he doing in the United shirt? You get behind the players. I think you should always give them the benefit of the doubt and try and get behind them, try and support them. It's, you know, it's what we do. But you can, you know, you can question them. You can question the transfer or whatever, and you can criticise them if they don't work out. The performances are bad, but if he does sign, then yeah, you know, I want him to have a successful time at Manchester United. I just don't see it. I just don't see the logic in this at all. If he was 18, you'd think, oh yeah, you know, he just had 1 or 2 seasons under his belt and he'd scored 5 goals this season. You'd think, yeah, you know, he looks like a hot prospect, but he's not. He's getting towards the end of his career. He's having a bit of a decent spell, and now it's like, oh right, now United have been linked with him. This is just another Odion Ighalo type scenario, or you know, not even a Cavani. I think Cavani's, you know, recent record when we bought him was very good, not just 1 season. Odion Ighalo, I think he'd been in the Premier League about 4 years before we got him or something, and not scored in 16 games or something stupid. And then we went and brought him in and asked him to do a job for us. So yeah, I just think it's a bit of a strange one. This, I'll get into some of the chats and the comments here. Andreas Ditzlevson says, Moting is a solid backup. That's it. Ben Sorville says, Harlow was poo. Then once Tenar got his hands on him, he became prolific. Grayson 30 says, Harlow was great in Germany. Liam Clark says, there's cover for Martial and a top-class striker signed in summer. Choupo-Moting would be fine. If he's your first choice, you're in trouble. The problem with that is cover for Martial at the moment means you're playing every week. Martial's played about 120 minutes in, 13 games, whatever it is. So we can't rely on Anthony Martial. And any striker that comes in, the chances are he ain't going to be cover for Anthony Martial. He's going to be starting because Anthony Martial's constantly injured. Now, yes, I hope that Anthony Martial can sort of get back to full fitness and play much, much more football for Manchester United because he has done in the past. But it's not a given. So you might end up buying someone like Choupo-Moting and he ends up leading the line from now until the end of the season. Annie Oxan says, Sesko, Osimhen or Vlahovic. Liam Clark says, buying like City, they make so many chances. Any half-decent striker would score a decent amount. Reganart says, Sesko, exclamation mark. I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks to everyone who got involved in the chat and the comments. Just one final story, sorry, before we get. There was a report on Raphael Varane that he could be fit for the World Cup. It looks like he could be going to the World Cup. Listen, I know as a player he'll want to go to the World Cup. My only concern with that is he goes to the World Cup, he's not fully fit, he gets an injury or he gets fatigue or whatever, and he comes back to Manchester United not at full fitness. That's the last thing we need because we need Raphael Varane back in this team. We missed him at the weekend against Aston Villa, and he's just been injured quite a lot since he got to Old Trafford, hasn't he? Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to hit subscribe as well. We'll be back later on. We're going to be looking ahead soon as well to the Villa game. Got Villa again, aren't we, in the League Cup? So we'll have that. We'll have all your podcasts as well. Make sure you're checking out the other videos that are up on the channel as well. There was some reaction yesterday to some of the stories I've spoken about from myself, from Joe, and from Andy Tate on the Paddock podcast. So go and check that out. I've been Jay. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.